I did hear about this. Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Comics Corner. I may or may not cut out the first bit. I haven't decided yet. But welcome to this week's episode. We've got a lot of interesting stuff that we're doing this week. Kind of a hodgepodge week. There isn't a whole lot going on in terms of news. We've got a couple of cool things coming out of DC Marvel. And then we're going to talk Daredevil and Black Lightning. In addition to that, we are going to delve into a realm which we are even more passionate about, Star Wars, and some of the Star Wars comics. So
we couldn't have picked a better time. I mean, May 4th is right around the corner.
Literally. And if we ever get stuff together, we are going to review Bad Batch, I think.
That would be fun. I would like this.
I think we're gonna try and do this. So it may not be this first week coming up, but we will get there one way or the other. And hopefully we'll be with all four of us instead of just the two of us. So have that coming up. How's it been, Christy? How you been this week?
I've been fine. Just living life. We had the NFL draft, which was very exciting and wonderful, and you were chatting in our Discord for part of that. That was very helpful.
Yeah, I'm a nerd, as you can see when it comes to sports.
The Hubs and I were helping to host a draft night party,
fun,
which is always fun because I'm still staying away from people. So I sat in a corner and was just like warding people off from getting too close to me. We were also competing against like the other stores to see who could make the right guesses. And we picked that Owasso guy from Notre Dame like 14 times. So our store did not win.
Yeah, I was actually surprised at how low he dropped. But unfortunately this year it was a lot of, we need offense and not defense. Hey Thane, how's it going, bud?
Excellent. Yeah, so it was an interesting night. I always forget that the draft is coming up. So for me, I'm like, I know the teams. I don't, for the life of me, remember who any of these people are. Yeah. I don't know what like the Vikings need versus what Green Bay needs or any of that. So I'm just like, that one.
Yeah, but my Packers are in a world of hurt because Aaron Rodgers wants to leave and they won't trade him. So that'll be fun.
Tell me about it. I live in Houston. Like all Houston sports have just completely bottomed out. We've gotten rid of nearly every star that we have on every team. It's a building year.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a building year all around.
I feel that literally the only team of mine that I root for that is actually doing well currently is my soccer team in England. Go Chelsea. But my Angels are kind of We're talking football at the moment, Thane. Give us a sec. We will get into comics, I promise.
Yeah, that is what we're here for.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a crazy week. I had some family health stuff that, thank God it came out okay. They were able to get everything in the first go, and
excellent, really good news.
Yeah, I was a mess most of the week, so as these guys can attest, I was just all over the place, but yeah, got everything. I am much better with a plan and with research, and once I was able to do my research and kind of go, okay, this makes sense, we're able to get past it. The draft was a lovely distraction, although my Packers are in trouble in a number of fronts, unfortunately, but hey, we shall hopefully do well this year. I hope. I hope my Angels.
Somehow.
Yeah, I hope.
If your team doesn't do well this year, that just means they get a better pick next year.
This is
Unless they
true.
traded all their picks away for the next 5 years, in which case,
Yikes.
someday.
Yeah. It was funny. I was watching that movie, Draft Day, and it was the most.
The one with Kevin Costner?
Yes, it's ridiculous. It's cheesy, but it's exactly how it happens. And as I was watching, I was like, I forgot Chadwick Boseman was in this film, and then I started to tear up, and I was like, what the heck? But interesting film. Yeah, this year's draft's been really weird simply because there was so much time, but it feels like between the college season and the draft, and because of like 2020 being what it was, time has lost all meaning. So it feels like a lifetime ago. And I'm just like, what is happening right now? But anyways, so yeah, we've got some interesting, fun stuff, but
we've got some news. We've got some highlights to hit.
Yep. So before we get into that blah 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 blah, check out this promo vid for our charity stream that we've got coming up, and we will see you guys right after this.
Yeah.
There we go.
Make sure take care of some of that,
Yeah. Thank God I work for universities, so I get the student pricing. Yeah. It's great. I love it. Anyways, we're back.
That looked fantastic. Good work on that. Excellent production.
Slowly but surely we are amping the production value around here. So that is the charity that we are supporting. A little bit about them. May 29th, which is coming up really rapidly. 24-hour charity stream right here. Please go check out their website if you would like more information, or hit me or Kate Gaming up on Discord. She's the one that picked this particular charity. I feel like I know way too much about them just researching them for this video. Yeah. So we know a lot.
And speaking of that, we do have a shirt in our merch store. I'm going to put the link directly to it. All of our proceeds for this shirt, you can get it on a sticker or a magnet or a coffee mug, whatever you want to get this design on. All of our proceeds for that are also going to be donated along with whatever we raise for the stream.
Yes, and we will be donating everything that comes through Twitch. We will also be doing a Tiltify. And we've got all kinds of crazy stuff planned, weird things for hype trains. We've got donation goals, of which we're gonna, do things like turn Llama into a metalhead some more, or, make Kate play with a Ouija board and Phasma, and all these fun, weird things we like to torture us with. So, as far as the news goes, so we've got a couple of things happening. There is an excellent article on Marvel.com if you guys want to read it, and I will post the link with the director for Eternals, who just won her first Oscar. There we go. So that's a good read, but more importantly, we got casting news for the HBO Max Green Lantern show, which I'm not entirely sure if they are going to just do Guy Gardner, or if they are going to do more than one Green Lantern. But, and I have to pull it up because his name eludes me. Flint Whitlock, or Whitrock, I think is how you say it. He's from American Horror.
Looks right.
Yeah, he's from American Horror Story and Ratcheted. He is going to be playing Guy Gardner, which, we did several episodes ago, we did a whole thing on Comics Corner for Guy Gardner. Hi, Boba.
Yeah, my dog agrees. We did discuss Guy Gardner already.
So yeah, he's interesting. He's hot-blooded, typical frat boy of a character. Which I'm curious how they're gonna play him, because in the comics he is like hyper patriotic, almost to like obsession. Kind of think the DC version of John Walker.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Also in casting news, we got a new live action version of Scarecrow in Titan Season 3. And I'm gonna butcher his name, so bear with me. Vincent Carthosius? I have no idea. He's going to he's gonna be playing Scarecrow. If you are fans of Mad Men, he is from that show. Let me see, what else has he been in?
Scarecrow is one of my favorite Batman villains.
Yes.
I am really looking forward to this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. There's only been 2 live-action versions of Scarecrow. There was the one in Batman Begins, and the actor, I can picture him, but for the life of me, I can't remember his name.
Hold on a second, and I'll have it for you.
And then there was the in Gotham.
Was there one in Gotham?
Yes, there was one in Gotham. A really young version. So the guy playing him, he's done a lot of TV. Recognize him from
Murphy was the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yes, that guy. Creepy, kind of reminds me of a young Mad Mikkelsen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. But Scarecrow is fun. He's best portrayed usually in animation. I forget the actor's name, but the guy who did him for the Batman Arkham game was phenomenal.
Seriously, I love the Arkham game.
Yeah, so good.
Scarecrow is by far the best part of that game.
Oh yeah.
When you have those creepy scenes when you're sneaking around and he's gigantic, hands down, that is what makes the game for me.
Yep.
Well, that and collecting things, because I really like to collect things.
Yep.
Problem.
Also, October 16th, 2021 is DC Fandom. It is going to be virtual again this year, so that'll be fun. It's kind of, if you haven't watched it, it's a mini Comic-Con, basically, but only for DC. So I am sure that we will have a ton more of announcements. We got a bunch last year. Should be interesting to kind of see what they do coming up. There's been a lot of memes recently comparing Marvel and DC, and it was like, DC, the fans want the Snyderverse, and DC's like, no. Marvel fans are like, we want an hour of Zemo dancing. They're like, sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't have to be this difficult.
Yeah. Honestly, that is exactly where we're at. We're at 2 different mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
One where some person in power is back in like the old school, we're going to make what the studio wants to make kind of mindset.
Yep.
And then the other mindset is we are fans of the product.
Yep.
And we want to make the film that we would want to see if we were just watching it. So obviously this is where the Marvel and DC divide is. I still am going to watch the DC stuff, but I don't want to spend money on it, like going to the theater.
Yeah.
The next Marvel movie comes out, I'm going to have a hard time wanting to stay home.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like my theater opens May 14th, and I cannot wait. Simply because I'm to the point where I'm like, cool, I'm vaccinated. I'm way past the full immunity time frame. I am ready to get back out there, and I will go watch a crappy movie just to go see a movie in a theater right now. Like, I'm at that point in my life.
Yeah. It's tempting for me. I'm trying to still be cautious for myself because I know everything I'm faced with. But we were like, I was dropping the hubs off at the grocery store, and I was waiting in the car while he went in, and I saw they had built a new movie theater in this shopping plaza, and I was like, oh, movie theaters.
Right?
I miss that. I miss the bucket of popcorn I don't actually want to eat more than a handful of.
Right? Yeah, I'm so pumped. And it's funny because there's, theaters as they were will never succeed ever again. It'll be a lot of more of the Alamo Drafthouse type style of theaters where you can, go have dinner and a movie and all that fun stuff.
As it was, the theaters were already like going in that direction.
Yeah.
Just the regular AMC near my house had a full bar.
Yep.
By the time, like they had the nice loungy reclining seats. They were all trying to change with the times.
Yeah.
And then this hit them right in their pockets, like.
Yeah, and I remember. Yeah, and I remember, and I hope that like Marvel, or not Marvel, but like Regal and stuff goes back to this, because when they first reopened in like October, I think it was. I don't know. Time has lost all meaning, like I said earlier. When they reopened last year and then had to shut back down, they were doing a lot of these. I went and saw the extended edition of Lord of the Rings in theaters. Okay, for like $15 total. Do I have them at home? Yes. In fact, it's sitting right here. But there's something about seeing it on a theater again, and I haven't seen it in theaters since it came out, 20-something years ago now. But it was it was so glorious. It was so great. And I hope that they do stuff like that again, because I think people will go just to get out of the house.
It's less experiencing something new coming out.
Yeah.
Because we can see it streaming. We can watch it one of a dozen ways, and from the convenience of our home. Movie theaters are the same as I treat a baseball park. It's about the shared experience where you're all there having this moment together. It's a sense of community.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it really needs to get to. It's going to be less, this movie's coming out, you've got to see it or you'll never see it another way.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that we're ever going to go back to that, where if you don't watch it in the theater, you're just never going to see it.
Yeah. It's funny that the invention of like VHS really changed everything when it came to movies. Because before then, they just used to re-release them every, 15 years. And that's how things like Gone with the Wind were the #1 box office film of all time until Endgame overtook it, which I kind of want them to be slightly petty and re-release Endgame in theater just to retake of Avatar.
I know. Like, I bless their hearts. I know that everybody is different and people have preferences, but I just don't think Avatar's a good movie.
I watched it once.
It's a stupid storyline. And yes, it had nice visual effects.
Yeah.
But it has not held up for the test of time. It is a creepy story.
And it's not, like, the optics in certain parts are not great in it.
Yeah.
And there is, like, I watched it with friends because they were like, you have to watch this film. And I was like, fine. So I waited till it came out on rental and watched it. And then I was like, okay, this isn't horrible, right? My family wanted to then watch it, so I tried watch it. I made it 45 minutes. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
This is too slow. It was as bad as the Transformers film with the dinosaurs, and I can't think of the title to save my life.
Transformers 52
Yeah,
dinosaur movie.
I saw it
Yeah.
with friends, right? Because we're like, oh, okay, it's a popcorn film. Like, that's why we go to see these movies, right?
Yeah.
I saw it with my best friend one day. Then my grandmother wanted to go, so we took her 2 days later. I pulled up my phone and was reading a book halfway through the movie because I was so bored. I was like, good Lord, I did not realize the pacing was this bad.
Yeah. Like for the Avatar movie, I think that I waited till it was maybe on TV.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that really like spoke to me and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to see it." Which is weird because usually like I am the intersection of sci-fi and fantasy. If it was something that looked good, I would have been first in the door, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I waited until renting it maybe on like Redbox
Yeah.
or it was on TV. And it was just even waiting that long, I think it still took me a couple of times to get through the whole thing because it was slow, it was boring, and I was like, I don't care about any of these people,
Yeah.
And there was like the weird tenderly, just
I had friends
it
that
could have been amazing,
yeah.
but it's like somebody said, "Hey, I have this really cool idea for a visual effect," and then they just chucked any actual written story into it.
Yeah.
It could
It's
have been
exactly
anything.
it.
Yeah.
I had friends that went saw it 10 times in theaters. I'm like, why? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And no, granted, this was right when things like RPX was coming out for Regal, and IMAX really became a thing.
Mhm.
You know,
Instead of just some novelty that was like at the planetarium.
yeah, exactly. Like, and I don't think that Warner Brothers realizes this. If they released the Snyder Cut for IMAX only, they would make a killing because everybody would want to go see it in IMAX. I know I
It
would.
would sell out.
Like, it would be. It doesn't even have to be 3D IMAX. Like, both of them would sell out.
Now, mind you, Snyderverse is like 6 hours long.
Yeah.
And they would still tempt me to want to go to see that in IMAX.
Right. I've seen it like 4 times.
Yeah.
And it's great to watch.
Oh, could you imagine watching WandaVision up there like that?
Oh yes. No, I'm not gonna lie.
Cool.
Slight detour. I do play Marvel Strike Force. They have introduced this concept of costumes for the characters.
I heard about this.
They are putting the WandaVision costumes in, and I'm like, I'm free to play, but I would buy those costumes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you guys are gonna tempt me to spend money in a game that I shouldn't be spending money on.
Okay, so since we're talking about Marvel video games, because we've completely lost the train.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There's not that much news. We can talk about anything. I'm not sure if it's Marvel Strike Force, so correct me if I'm wrong. It might be like Avengers Alliance or something else. I don't know. But I heard that the Netflix MCU characters are being released as like a comic, like a costume choice.
Oh.
Yeah. And like this is how it was like kind of a spoiler rumor sort of thing about how we can bring those closer into the MCU. Because the Netflix shows are in the MCU. They refer to things that have happened in the movies, but none of those characters have appeared in an MCU movie yet.
Oh, hold on.
I say yet because as we're going to talk about with Daredevil, is heavily rumored to be playing Daredevil in the next Spider-Man movie.
Yes. Let's see. Marvel Strike Force. Okay, so it's not the other Marvel games, so it could very well be Marvel Strike Force.
I'm thinking so. It was something about like it's being released as a costume choice. So like Luke Cage has his Netflix show appearance. And that it would be like a costume for your character, and it's referred to as Marvel Studios Luke Cage.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's see. I know that they announced this like forever ago. Yes, it is. It is for Marvel Strike Force. Interesting.
Nice.
That's curious. Okay, so back to news, because I keep staring at this Deadline article and I'm like, I have to get back to this.
Yeah.
Pardon my tangent.
Hey, that was a fantastic tangent. We were all there together.
So, the last little bit of Marvel news that we've got is, of course, casting news. We are slowly but surely learning more about who is going to be in Secret Invasion. So we got the Queen of Dragons herself. We have the Queen, Olivia Colman. We have
Olivia Colman, Emilia Clarke.
Ben Kingsley. No, wrong words. Kingsley Benadair. There's the right combination of words, because that's a different person.
Different person altogether. Probably still British, though.
Probably.
It seems like anyone named Kingsley seems to be British.
Just a little bit. And then, of course, we've got Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn returning, but the one that we got over the other day was Killian Scott, who, if you are a fan of anything British, he has been in a couple of things for the BBC recently, is going to be in Secret Invasion. I have no idea who he's going to play, but...
I don't know, but this is a whole lot of British actors that it's going to be in Secret Invasion.
Yes.
It makes me so excited to see what storyline they could be taking.
I'm just like, dude, the man is gorgeous, like... And he's Irish, which just makes me happy.
Just brings you joy in general.
I'm a sucker for a British-Irish accent. I am. Anyways, I digress. So...
And in other Marvel news, just a couple hours ago, we got our very first look of Ms. Marvel.
Yes!
Kamala Khan.
Hold on.
She is going to have her own headlined... Disney Plus show.
Yes.
Ms. Marvel. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And this is incredibly comic book accurate.
Yes.
They are doing such a great job, especially with the Disney Plus shows. I mean, Wanda got her Scarlet Witch costume.
Yep.
Looks fantastic. Sam got his Captain America Falcon costume. Absolutely comic book accurate.
Yep.
Even Walker got his U.S. agent costume, which is perfect. Kamala Khan looks absolutely ideal in this. And then we've got we've seen images of Hawkeye and Kate Bishop from the Hawkeye TV show, and that looks perfect.
Yep.
So they're really, like, Marvel has done a great job of casting. The costumes can be hit and miss. Like it's usually reminiscent. Yeah. But I mean, it's made for a movie. They want it to look impressive. They are really going in on making sure all of the little details are perfect.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but they recently in the comics have made an effort to not have ridiculously stupid costumes. You know, some of the old school costumes are yikes.
Oh yeah. Let's say problematic.
Yeah, that's a polite way of putting it.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, Kamala Khan is a teenager, I believe, at the beginning of her run. Yeah. So it would be completely inappropriate to have something that's hypersexualized or revealing. Yeah. So this is very true to the character too. And this is one of the things that she's a very new comic book character. She's only been around the last handful of years. Yes, but now we've got almost all of the Young Avengers now. So we've got oh gosh, I'm so excited. Tommy and Billy, we've got Miss Marvel, we've got Kate Bishop, we've got Eli Bradley. Yeah, Eli Bradley. He's going to be Patriot. There's been a lot of rumors that they're going to, it's been a lot of rumors they're going to do Squirrel Girl. I know Anna Kendrick has been after to play Squirrel Girl for years. So yes, please. And heavily a fan favorite. So yes, please. And I'm sure there's other ones that I'm missing, but those are kind of the main Young Avengers cast. Yeah. The only one I think that I can think of for Young Avengers that I haven't seen yet is Hulkling. Mm-hmm.
But that
So
could pop up in
She-Hulk,
She-Hulk, yeah.
exactly what I was thinking. So I feel like Marvel always has an end game that is like 10 years out,
Yep.
you know? They throughout the phase 1, phase 2, phase I think we're on 5 now, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, we're 4, I think it is.
They have built such a tapestry that they can take these projects and go in side directions, and then they wrap it all up somehow, and you're like, oh, this was always how this was going to be, you know, this is always how it was meant to be.
Now,
And I think that's what they're doing with this. I think that there's going to be a Young Avengers project where they take all of these people who they've, you know, pulled into the universe in their young adolescence, teenage years.
mhm.
And by the time these actors are actually like in their 20s, they're going to have them playing in this huge movie that's going to be so epic. It's going to be fantastic.
Now, here's the thing. So we are a good probably 5-6 years off of the massive Secret Invasion movie. Okay? In the comics, the Young Avengers were the first ones to respond to Secret Invasion.
Oh, nice.
So we could be heading in that direction. My guess is they will bring them in the TV show first, and then level everybody up. You know, could you imagine an adult version of Tommy and Billy with Wanda and Vision?
That could be pretty amazing.
Yeah, yes, please.
Well,
you know,
we also need to have those characters go through a whole arc where they don't know each other.
Yeah, that too.
Because in the comics, once Wanda's kind of reality shatters, the kids are disappeared. They go back into Mephisto. Like there's a whole storyline where they're kind of like reincarnated.
Yeah.
And then they develop their powers and they find each other and they find out their entire past. So you could tell some very interesting stories that way.
I knew there was one I was forgetting. Miss America.
Oh, America Chavez?
Yeah, that
right?
yeah, I think that's the one.
Yeah.
I knew there was one I was forgetting.
It's supposed to be somewhere. Hold on. I feel like there's a casting for her.
Yeah, I want to say she's in something coming up, but I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, she's going to be in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
That's what it is. So that would be interesting. I mean, honestly, there's so many pieces put in place, and with Cassie Lang as well. That, you know, it very well could be really quickly that this happens. And maybe that is their plan to replace the original 6. And
honestly, we've got so many like crazy, wonderful team ups in the comics that you could do a lot of different things and do it really well. So yeah, we could go this route. We know that we're eventually going to get back to Fantastic Four.
Yep.
We're eventually going to get an X-Men movie.
Yep.
So Marvel is doing what the comics do really well, and that's leaning on side characters, telling a new story using the framework that they've already got.
Yep. So it'll be interesting going forward. I'm sure Kevin Feige has this all planned out in his head.
I'm sure there's like boards full of post-it notes somewhere, you know?
If you've ever seen how like George R.R. Martin like plans Game of Thrones in terms of storylines, I imagine that's how, or the conspiracy meme, that I'm sure that's what it looks like.
There are strings going from here to here to here.
Yep. All right.
Definitely.
So, we're going to head into This Week in Comics history, and we'll be right back.
And now, for This Week in Comics History.
All right. There we go. Right button. I'll clean that up in post. Anyways. Oh, dagnabbit. What is it? Was all my Zoom window? Oops! All of my Zoom windows are like massively out of shape. Good lord.
Yeah, I think that the
I
Like
don't
when
know.
I made the black and white copy, I think it's off.
Well, no, I think
I
what
just
it
copied it, but you know.
I think what it is my preview window is smaller, because I have
Mm,
so much in OBS right now that I think it shrunk
yeah.
it, and I wasn't paying attention. But anyways, that's fine. So this week
Is that wait, before we discuss anything, can we talk about the image you pulled for Daredevil? Is he hugging Black Widow?
yes, he is.
Okay. I just needed to confirm this so I can get in the right headspace. We're talking about Daredevil, and you find in the ether an image of him with Black Widow.
So I'm not sure if this is comic book art or fan art, but I didn't necessarily want to pull a picture of Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Like, don't get me wrong, I love his Daredevil, he's fantastic.
Mhm.
But I was already doing that for Black Lightning, and I was like, I didn't want to do that for both. And that was the
Yeah.
first one I found that was not like the right sizing.
I'm looking to see if you have a storyline.
Can you block the genius that just decided to bot us?
I don't know if I can. Honestly, I don't know how to.
Okay, hold on.
mod yet. Sorry.
No, you're good. Give me 2 secs, guys. Sorry, dealing with mod stuff. So if you look on the Twitch screen, there's a little corner or a little sword.
I was clicking that, but I don't know enough about it. I'll have Paul teach me later.
Okay, and then I just and I just go to this guy, and then I ban him.
There we go. Excellent. Good job.
Okay, sorry, multitasking. Anyways, yeah, that was the first one I found that was the
I
right
had mod turned
sizing.
off.
Okay.
There we go. I'm fixed.
Was the right sizing, and I was like, well, that works, since we talked extensively in the Black Widow one about how she has such a history with Daredevil.
Mhm.
So anyways, back to Daredevil. So he was created by Stan Lee and Bill Everett, with Jack Kirby had some input, but at the time, like, it wasn't official. And then a lot of what we know of Daredevil today came from Frank Miller's writing in the 80s, but he did appear in Daredevil #1 in April of 1964. There's been a bunch of different kind of ideas as to how he lost his sight. I kind of like, in the comics, it was like a radioactive thing. In the Ben Affleck movie, it was a chemical burn, which I think seems more realistic.
Yeah. A little bit more real world than
Yeah. And so because of that, he develops over heightened senses and basically has like sonar and echolocation abilities, and that's how he fights. Which I have to say, I wouldn't rewatch the 2002 Daredevil movie. I think it was maybe 2003.
I rewatched the Netflix series.
I don't get me wrong, the Netflix series is amazing, but that's a lot of time, and
It's a lot better.
Yeah.
Like, I am not opposed to the Ben Affleck Daredevil, but the Charlie Cox Daredevil is better.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hands down, better stories, better acting.
Yeah, it was a lot. But it's not horrible. Like, parts of it are okay. The Bullseye storyline sucked. But
I forgot about that.
Yeah, with Colin
Farrell.
Yeah. Yeah.
He looked creepy.
He was something else. But I do like Jennifer Garner as Elektra. And I was really hoping they'd cast her as She-Hulk, but that's a different conversation. Anyways.
That would have been kind of fun.
Right? So, he gets blinded as a kid. He had his dad, Jack Murdoch, who's a boxer, is basically a mob guy without being an actual made man. Gets killed for not throwing a fight. And then we get into kind of the funness of Bullseye and Kingpin, and he's mostly, fighting the mob, which makes sense in Hell's Kitchen in New York.
Yeah, he's very, 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 very Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
He is the most Catholic that Catholic could ever be in a comic book.
Yeah.
He goes to law school.
Yep.
So even though he comes from a very poor background and was orphaned quite young, he is very intelligent. He goes to school. He becomes a lawyer. And so he tries to help people by day by being a lawyer and help people at night by being Daredevil.
Yep.
But I do like, especially with this character, and this is where the Netflix show really, I think, did a great job with him. They portray him as having that anger inside.
Yep.
And Daredevil is how he releases it. It's how he kind of rails against the world for everything bad that's happened to him. And I really enjoyed that emotional journey. I think that they did it really well. There is always like a mystical ninja kind of aspect to the character, where he's trained in all of these ninja fighting techniques, and his greatest enemy besides Bullseye and Kingpin is the Hand.
Yeah.
Which is a ninja assassin organization.
Yeah.
It's always ninjas,
Yeah, and that's where Elektra comes out of, and he does have romantic relationships with both Black Widow and Elektra, to varying degrees of disaster. That
is quite a way to put it, yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's bad at relationships. So his team affiliations are Defenders, New Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., Marvel Knights, which is the run of Marvel Comics that basically saved Marvel as we know it, The Chase, and of course The Hand. He's had an interesting... he's had an interesting kind of run over the years. He's had some weird kind of writers. It wasn't really until the 80s with Frank Miller that he really kind of set Daredevil, and that's where we get a lot of the origin story as we know it. Hey Sheps, we are currently talking Daredevil and Black Lightning, and then we're going to get into Star Wars comic Age of the Rebellion, and talk some other cool kind of stuff coming up. So it was in the 80s that we got the kind of typical that Jack Murdock is a drunk who sometimes beats his son, sometimes not, depending on the telling. And we get that's where Kingpin stops really being a Spider-Man villain and goes to being a Daredevil villain, and we get a lot of interaction between Daredevil and Spider-Man because they're in the same city, so they share a lot of the same villains. There's a lot of crossover events between the two, and
they're both Daredevil-y people that jump off of buildings and just know that they'll be okay, so
Yeah, and we get... So he leaves New York a couple of times. He goes to San Francisco at one point with Black Widow, which is a weird and interesting run. And it wasn't until more recently where we get this very interesting crossover story where he leaves New York and leaves basically Hell's Kitchen in the hands of the Dodger Milaje, which I probably said wrong, and basically lets Wakanda take over, which is weird, but I'm like, cool, I'm down with this.
Well, as we just found out from Falcon and Winter Soldier, they have jurisdiction wherever they are.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's got a couple of interesting series. I will post recommended reading in our Discord server
Discord
later on today. Uh, one of my favorite versions of this character is in Neil Gaiman's Marvel 1602, where he plays a blind balladeer. And I'm just like, this is so much fun. I love this. But yeah, there's a lot of weird.
I need to go back and read that series.
A lot of weird
I've seen
ones.
parts of it.
Yeah.
It's all very piratey, very, Middle Ages.
Yeah.
People are knights instead of superheroes. It is good fun.
Yeah. He's a fun character. He's got a surprisingly good set of villains. Some of them have very strange names, but he does fight parts of the Sinister Six, so Electro being one of them.
Yeah.
He has guys like the Owl, Purple Man, Mr. Fear, Stilt Man, Gladiator, the Jester, Man Bull, Deathstalker, of course, as we mentioned earlier. Bullseye being his most prominent, along with the Kingpin, and kind of everything that includes that with those characters. He mostly is used within like live action stuff as a lawyer. Which a lot of people
Standard,
think,
if you need a lawyer, call Matt Murdock.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that's how he's going to be pulled into the MCU proper. So that'll be fun.
And it is a rumor, but he is reported to be in the Spider-Man movie, No Way Home.
Yes.
And it is heavily suggested that that's what he'll be doing, is that at the end of Far From Home, Peter Parker was outed.
Yeah.
So the whole world knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And it seems like he's going to be held accountable for something and will need a lawyer. And that's kind of where we're picking up that story and why we think that's where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But regardless, of the entire Netflix Marvel series of shows.
Yeah.
Like I prefer the tone of Jessica Jones. It was very film noir, very like detective-y, private eye.
Yeah.
But the interaction between those two characters, the way that they chose to portray them, I think those are some of the strongest acting performances with any of those shows.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Of course, IMDb is not telling me anything, but
yeah,
they won't.
Well, they're also still not saying that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in it, and there have been photos of them like on set. Yeah. So
they ain't saying anything.
I don't care if it's literally one frame in the movie. Yeah. It is enough for me. That is all I need.
Yep. And of course he's been played by a variety of people, but most notably Ben Affleck and of course Charlie Cox, who, if the rumors are true, that is who will be playing him in the MCU, is my guess. I mean, honestly, with the exception of Iron Fist, the casting of the Defenders is actually kind of perfect.
Yeah, and even then, Iron Fist isn't bad casting. It's just he doesn't know any martial arts, and it's quite apparent he didn't train.
Well, not only that, but the production quality.
Well, yeah.
But
if anyone in that cast actually took it seriously and decided, oh, I'm in this Kung Fu Master kind of movie, I should like really study martial arts and maybe learn Taekwondo. And they're not going to be a black belt, but you can suspend the disbelief.
Yeah.
But they didn't. Like the only thing they did was they would script like, okay, punch this way, and oh, this is how you meditate, and like that's the part that really let us down with Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Is nobody knew any martial arts and nobody was learning it.
Yeah.
I am all for somebody going through training and being able to like learn those skills, and even if they do a 6-month intensive before filming starts, I'm good. You put in the work, I can make that, leap in logic where I can take, you have this tiny bit of skill, I can pretend that you're this mystical master.
Yeah.
We didn't do the homework with this show.
Yeah.
That is the biggest failing of the Marvel Netflix shows is Iron Fist.
Yeah, and it's sad because Defenders was so much better. For me, I got an episode into Iron Fist, and I went, I've seen student films that look better than this, and that is the biggest insult you can give to a professional production.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you are filming in New York City. Why do you have the same 3 locations? Okay. That just look crappy, and and just the storyline for the first episode, didn't make any sense. I was like,
it
what?
didn't. It was weird because Danny just showed up, and he eventually gets better.
Yeah.
If you force yourself to watch the whole thing, you will not be proud of yourself, but you'll have done something with your life. But yeah, he eventually gets way less irritating because he's like a petulant 12-year-old in a young man's body. And he's like walking around barefoot, and I'm like, you lived long enough in society, you understand that that's not correct.
Yeah.
It's not like you were found as a baby and you've never been to the city before.
Yeah, but I digress.
Yeah, there was just too much.
There was a lot.
But yeah, Daredevil. Good character. Good
Character, great show. Highly recommend it.
Usually has a very dark, traumatic past.
Yep.
A lot of anger, a lot of Catholic guilt, but a really fun character, and a way that his villains tend to either be mystical ninjas or human beings that happen to be really good at something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's not going to be up fighting aliens very often. He's not fighting somebody who can I don't know, a telepath. It tends to be really well-trained human beings.
Yes. Okay, so there's Daredevil. Flipping over to Black Lightning, who I will be reading a lot of my notes because I don't know a whole lot about this character. Critty, thank God, has been watching the TV show, so I kind of have someone
started watching the show. I'm so happy.
Okay.
So this has been on my to watch list for a long time, and I started binge watching, and I'm already almost at the end of season 2. So it is
impressive.
It is objectively I watch all the superhero shows, so it's not too out of my forte. But the acting in it is phenomenal, and it also it has a lot of things going for it. There are a lot of Black actors. It has really strong ties to the community, where he is Jefferson is the main character. He is a high school principal, and he really cares about the kids, and so he is trying to protect them with his daytime persona, and at the same time he's trying to protect his family at night.
Gotcha.
So with the show, because that is my strong point. I haven't read a lot of the comics themselves, but in the show, he was Black Lightning, which was a lightning-based superhero, but he gave it up for his wife. His wife was, it would make her nervous, kind of like being married to a cop. She was never sure if he'd come home, that kind of thing, and he wanted to prioritize his family, his girls, and keep them safe. But in order to keep them safe, he has to pick the costume back up.
That makes sense.
So it's a lot about him struggling with that identity, trying to get his wife back, trying to protect his girls, trying to be a good role model and teacher for the kids of his school. And you have the arbitrary white guy that helps him with tech, in like Alfred for Batman. In this case, it is a tailor who sort of adopted him as a kid, and has a spy background, so he can just like hack stuff and also build super suits, because it is a comic book when you get down to it. So of course this guy has like multifaceted powers.
Of course.
But the thing that I love the most about this show is it's not just one character headlining it.
Mm-hmm.
His daughters develop powers very early on in the series.
Oh, good.
So Black Lightning, he has 2 daughters. One goes by Thunder and the other goes by Lightning. And so they kind of embody the aspects of Thunder and Lightning. Thunder has like super strength and can kind of make these concussive waves of air. And Lightning, like her father, controls power, but she generates it. And he absorbs it. So
gotcha.
it's a lot of really interesting experiences. There are a lot of shows out there where you find somebody developing powers and learning to deal with it, but you don't usually see that in a family aspect. So
No.
I'm really enjoying it. So I am in the 2nd season, and everybody has sort of come to terms with who they are. You know, there's a bad guy, there's some gang storylines, there's actually talk of a spin-off show called Painkiller that deals with one of the teenage characters. So it's been really interesting, and I really enjoy the storytelling and the visual effects of this show. I do highly recommend it. As for the character himself, he was Jefferson Pierce. Black Lightning is a DC Comics character. Do you want to do your usual backstory?
Yeah. Okay.
I got excited and ahead of ourselves.
No, you by all means, you saved me a ton of time. So in the comics, he was created by Tony Isabella and Trevor Von Eden. Tony Isabella, of course, was one of the main writers for developing Luke Cage. So you see a lot of that crossover here. His first comic came out in April of 1977 as Black Lightning #1. He originally was from kind of the ghetto of Metropolis, and has kind of a similar story in terms of how he acquired his powers to Electro, the Spider-Man and Daredevil villain. In that, you know, he basically had Electro fell into something and he got electrocuted, and thereby genetically enhanced eels, and that was how he got his. Here it's more of a belt, but interesting crossover in terms of character development.
That is a difference with the show.
Yeah.
One of the things that the show does is they talk about human experimentation and the fact that a vaccine that was supposed to help people was administered in a poor neighborhood.
Yikes. Yeah. Yikes.
So basically they use it as a story that a vaccine was given to just kids, all these kids, any kid they could come across.
Yikes.
And most kids were fine. Some kids died. Some kids got superpowers. So Black Lightning is one. And then we're finding out that the superpowers are transferred genetically. So because he had them, he's transferred it onto his daughters.
Interesting.
So that's a difference with the TV show, where they try to lean a little more into taking and twisting things from actual history and applying them to the comic book world.
Yeah, unfortunately, history just shows us the worst of humanity at times.
Yeah.
So the original run only ran for 11 issues before DC implosion in the late 80s, or not late 80s, late 70s. And then he was kind of folded into the Justice League. And that's kind of where he continued to go. And then he's currently running with the Outsiders, which is a group that I've heard of, but I haven't really read anything. by them, so not entirely sure about them. But as you mentioned, in the TV show, he's a principal. In the comics, when Lex Luthor becomes president in 2000, he becomes Secretary of Education, which is fascinating. Yeah. So he's got a couple of different things, but he's currently running with Justice League of America to a degree, and then he has a run in the New 52 when DC rebooted in 2011. And he's mostly battling Blue Devil, which is interesting. And you get a bunch of kind of crime wave stuff, and then again they're trying to recruit him back into Justice League. So,
which honestly, that's fun because we all know that I love the Arrowverse shows.
Oh yeah,
this is how they brought him into the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
Black Lightning had been around for, I think he was on his 3rd season, because we're on the 4th season now, like in real time. And he only just got brought over in one of the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. And that's one of the things that they intended to do before COVID happened, was to create the Justice Society. And they build the clubhouse, and they have like a logo on the wall for each of them, and they have one for Black Lightning.
Gotcha.
So until plans had to change because of filming protocols, that is where they were going to go in Arrowverse. They were going to create the Justice Society and have a lot of crossover and interplay there. For the enemies, they do tend to go into more of like criminal organizations. But Tobias Whale is one of, I think, the most interesting bad guys that he faces. And I just like the amazingness of casting. DC is not usually so great at casting, but the fact that they have an absolute amazing actor, Marvin Jones III, Marvin Condon Jones, it's in quotations, I'm not sure why, plays Tobias Whale. And he is an albino African American.
Okay.
And the character is an albino African American. And oh my goodness, he is so sinister with his acting. He does menacing so well. He does creepy. He does just like, you think that this guy could literally be capable of violence. But from everything I've seen, he's a very nice man.
Nice.
And just his acting has been one of the best parts of watching the show for me. Like, I really enjoy the father-daughter interplay where the girls are learning about their powers. They're kind of becoming a little superhero family team. But you got to have a good villain to have a good show, and he is definitely a good villain.
Gotcha. All right, I guess. Well, that is our comics history for this week. Right after these commercials, we will be back with Age of the Rebellion. We're diving into Star Wars because we couldn't help ourselves. So we will see you guys right after this.
Hey there, Bounty Honeys fans. The Llama here to let you all know that the Honeys have an official merch store. You can get merch from all your favorite honeys, plus you can get our very special Bounty Honeys charity shirt. The proceeds of that one go to whichever charity that the Bounty Honeys are currently supporting. The one we have coming up is To Write Love on Our Arms. And you can't leave the store without getting an official Team Llama shirt to let the world know that Kate Gaming is always sus. The merch link is in our official Discord server. It's either down in the description below, or if you're on Twitch, you can hit !Discord. We can't wait to see photos of all of you repping your favorite Bounty Honeys.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Kate Gaming here from the Bounty Honeys, here to tell you about our Discord channel, where you can keep up with the latest Bounty Honeys news, including when the Comics Corner podcast, hosted by Critty K and Geek Girl, is being live recorded, when Swugga videos are released by the Llama and Kate, and when we are going live on our personal channels. To join our Discord, check out the link in the description below.
And we're back. So, this week, for our kind of main me to the episode. Yeah, that thing. We are covering Star Wars comic. They did a mini-series several years ago called Age of the Rebellion, where they have a kind of a, I think it was a 10 or 11 issue run, where they did one-offs on all of your favorite Star Wars characters. The one we're going to be talking about today is the overall special that focuses around 3 storylines. IG-88 being sassy, Yoda going to search for food. Poor Yoda is like green. He's yellow instead of green.
Yoda, you're so green. Even your lightsaber. Like green screen picks him up. Yeah.
And then there's a great, hilarious storyline between Wedge and Porkins.
Yeah, that poor guy.
Poor guy. So sad.
So May the 4th is coming up, so we knew we wanted to do something Star Wars, and our good friend Paul Anthony from the Escape podcast had recommended this run to us as just a nice little one-off, nothing too intensive to get into. And the nice thing about this is each issue is geared towards a character. So if you have a favorite character, just read that one.
Yeah, exactly. So we start off this comic with IG-88, no, specifically 88, which not IG-11 from The Mandalorian, but IG-88 who goes through basically just being a bounty hunter, and during that time we see a couple of people that he's hunting decide, you know what, if we kill him, no one's going to come after us.
Yeah.
So they decide to blow up IG-88, and but they don't destroy his head, which is
always thank you, the Escape podcast. We are very good friends. He always knows when to crop up and say hello.
So many jokes, not gonna happen. Anyways, so he's just going around, gathering intelligence.
Yeah.
And he gets roughed up by the locals.
Some prison escapees get the drop on him.
Yeah.
Destroy his body.
Yep.
But take his head to like get the information out of it.
Yeah, basically.
Collect bounties that he's already killed people.
Yeah. And so they go through, and then he decides to and he's like, I've been preparing for this eventuality for forever, and just comes in with basically like a Terminator type body, and just picks up his head and sticks it on, and I'm like, what am I watching, a Cyberman? Or reading, not watching. Good Lord, I can't think today.
It's a comic book.
I know. And that's the sad part, because I'm like staring right at it. Anyway.
Yeah, the final scene is basically that IG had set up these prison escapees.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that they would attack him.
Yep.
And he knew that they wouldn't destroy his head. So he stored enough information that they would take it to this specific place and try to collect a bounty.
Yep.
Creating a shootout between them and this crime syndicate, that he would be able to go in and mop up the remainder.
Yep. And
collect the bounty on the whole lot of them. Like, just the strategy of this. It was very, like Wild Westy.
Yep.
Yeah.
It reminds me a bit, if you've ever seen they were doing live versions of it. Now it's just a podcast of The Thrilling Adventure Hour. And it's basically just an old time radio show. And they have, these bounty hunters on Mars basically going around like doing stuff. It's highly good. I recommend you check it out. But so we go from IG-88 to Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's on Dagobah.
my favorite story of the three.
Yeah. He's on Dagobah. He's like, I need to rest, but I don't have any meat.
Yeah.
So he just kind of goes out, wandering throughout Dagobah, kind of reminiscing to a degree, and
kind of contemplating his existence, the fact that he's he's given up being an active Jedi as part of his penance. He won't use a lightsaber anymore.
Yep.
He recognizes that he was prideful and that led to the downfall. He didn't see the dark side rising up. He feels like he's at fault for everything.
Yep.
And so he has imprisoned himself on Dagobah.
Yes. And this is, I believe, right before Luke shows up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like moments before. And I'm gonna hold this up. Just the art
is gorgeous.
Yeah. The art is just absolutely beautiful.
It is.
This is
stunning.
Yeah, and this is also like comics always give you the ability to tell a story that you can't tell on film.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things, like, this makes Dagobah feel more real than seeing it in Empire Strikes Back, you know?
Oh, 100%. And there's a great moment where he's climbing up this cliff and he falls, and he has this kind of flashback moment to falling in the Senate chamber from Revenge of the Sith. And, he's trapped under all these rocks. And we get this great moment of a Jedi is not his lightsaber, not when he has the Force as his ally. And it's so touching. And it's so great to be reminded of, look, we love the fancy moves. We love the big epic lightsaber fights. But at the end of the day, the Force is in us. It lives through us. It surrounds us. And the Jedi draw their strength from the Force.
Yep.
And so we get him lifting off the rocks. And then immediately, that's when we go into him meeting up with Luke.
Yeah. Just as he's reminded of his own place and that he has to bring the Jedi Order back. He needs to bring it forward. He was the last of his kind. Then Luke shows up, and just that one line, it was okay. It says, he sees in the boy a new hope. Yeah. And I was like,
yeah.
It
makes the cheesy seem not so cheesy. But speaking of cheesy, then we go into...
Oh, bless their hearts. This was like the comic relief section.
Oh, yeah. Well, you had to have a touch of humor after the heaviness of that initial scene. But then we get into Porkins and Wedge, and we realize that we learn that Porkins is the son of an Imperial pilot, and he after a battle near Kashyyyk where they destroy a bunch of TIE fighter pilots, Biggs is like, hey, you need a vacation. So they go off to this tropical paradise for like 12 days, and I'm like, you are in the middle of a war. How can you, and you're part of the rebellion, how can you safely go on vacation right now?
Well, that's kind of exactly the point, though, too. They have a run-in with an Imperial officer.
Yeah.
They have shenanigans.
A great word.
Like at one hand, Porkins is like feeling traumatized because he realized that he killed somebody and that was a real person who had a family, you know? And so he's going through his own little existential crisis, and they decide to get away from it all. But as soon as they get back, they're just informed about all the people who died while they were gone.
Yeah.
Like, it was... Yeah, Escape Podcast is saying the suspension of disbelief is key to enjoying all stories. Yeah, with this story, it was lighthearted and silly, but also quite depressing.
Yeah, it really was. Which, it is unfortunate, but it's also just kind of reminds you of like the great balance that is Star Wars. You have the comic relief, you have the heavy kind of punch you in the gut with emotion moments, but you also have, just characters just trying to do their job and everybody's trying to stop them. And so you get all of this great balance. And there's so many great, and this reminds me a lot of a series that they're currently doing in the novels from a certain point of view. And it basically tells, they've done A New Hope, they've done Empire Strikes Back. I'm sure they're planning on doing Return of the Jedi, but it has not come out yet. And basically what it is telling these stories through side characters. So you get the captain of the TNTV4. You get the red R2 unit that blows a motivator. And you see all of these different moments, and it gives more depth and just kind of flushes out the storyline a little bit more, and it just makes it better. And the audiobooks I highly recommend because they bring in everybody, including my Ahsoka, Ashley Eckstein. And it's so lovely, and it makes me happy, and they're just great little one-off stories. And they're just so much fun. But I could go on and on and on and on and on about Star Wars because I am that nerd.
But that's exactly what this does for us.
Yes.
May the 4th is coming up.
Yep.
And may you go forward and find some side story, a comic book. The great thing about this medium of the books, the comics, and especially like just the TV shows that are coming out and building a richer universe for us to dwell in, gives you the opportunity to enjoy these side characters that don't get a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
Not everybody can be a Rey. Not everybody can be an Anakin.
Yeah.
But you can have a story all about a bounty hunter named IG-88. And he is an absolute badass in that comic. It's only a couple of pages long. It took me like 3 minutes to read.
Yeah.
And it was so enjoyable.
It's great.
So, I mean, that get into something where you can like read about your favorite Imperial, what was she, a janitor?
Yeah.
We have tons of comics at the house because the Hubs collects them, and this just makes me want to delve into the Captain Phasma series and delve into the rest of this Age of Rebellion. It just gives you like little tiny snippets where there's no way they could justify making a film that spent 10 minutes just watching Yoda walk through a forest,
Yeah.
You're never going to see that on film, but you get a comic book and it's beautiful.
Well,
it's art.
Give me a character, give me a faction, whether you are light side, dark side, fan of the Jedi or the Sith, or hate both of them, I can give you a book within the extended universe that is about that storyline, and I know people say that the extended universe is not canon. BS. The extended universe is the canon. It is what they are pulling from now. And it made me so mad when Kathleen Kennedy said, we don't have 30 years of comics to pull from. And I went, yes, you do. You have 30 years of books to pull from. Not all of them are great, granted, but you have phenomenal stories, whether it's Heir to the Empire with Thrawn, whether it's the Darth Bane series, whether it's the Darth Plagueis series, Revan, you name it, it's good. But there is some weird stuff. Don't get me wrong. There is some very...
There always will be.
Okay. But, I mean, and even the new High Republic stuff. I read the first book. I wasn't highly impressed with it, but it felt more like a screenplay rather than an actual book. So it was... And they introduced like 40 characters in the span of 20 minutes. I was like, good lord, guys.
Oh, that's too much.
Yeah, it was a lot.
pick one and follow that person through.
Well, in the second book that they just came out with, Into the Darkness, I think it was, it's on my list to read. I'm in this, like, oh, hey, puppy. I'm in this Outlander mood at the moment, but...
Speaking of Star Wars, Boba.
Hey, Boba. There's a good
Boba.
boy. Yes,
This
you
is
are.
Boba Mutt. Good girl. And there's Luke Skywalker.
Hey, Luke. There is... Even the new stuff that they're coming out with is good. And the thing that I like about the High Republic era is they have one inciting event, which is this explosion in hyperspace, and how does this interact with all of these books? And it's going through a through line, but unfortunately they're relying a little heavily on the supplemental material to make the films great. I read Rise of Skywalker, the book, and it was phenomenal. And I wish that had been what the film was. Unfortunately, that was not possible due to Carrie Fisher passing. So I have high hopes going forward that Star Wars will be better within the films. Within the TV show, it's already phenomenal. Even though I am highly critical of things like The Mandalorian, as Paul can attest to. The only perfect episode out of that entire show is the Ahsoka episode. It is just absolutely perfect. But we've got Bad Batch coming up. Oh, I'm so excited. So we've got a lot of fun things coming up. Stay tuned for more news about our charity stream. As we get plans and people coming in finalized, we're going to have a bunch of different content creators hanging out all day. We're going to do a very special episode of Comics Corner featuring the four of us. We will be discussing the Star Wars Rebels comics, which I actually have to read.
Yeah, same here.
But super excited about that.
Join our Discord and give us some ideas of things that you want to see. We're going to be playing a lot of games and hanging out with some great people.
Yep.
But give us some suggestions on things you want to use as redeemable rewards, milestones to hit, things like that.
Yep.
And then for Comics Corner for the next couple of weeks, we've got some guests lined up.
Yep.
So definitely come hang out with us next week.
Yep. We've got our good buddy Deadpool Kyle next week, which we will be talking about Deadpool.
Surprisingly.
I know, shocker.
I asked him who he wanted to cover. It didn't even cross my mind.
So that'll be a fun episode. If you're in our Discord server, drop us some questions if you would like him to answer, or you can tag him at his wonderful tag, DP Carroll. So we will see you guys next week for all of those shenanigans. Stay safe out there. Go get your vaccine. Stay geeky, and we will see you next time.
Have a good week.